Welcome back to the Outlaw Ranch. Today's task, we're going to try and get this center section pulled, and then we're going to re-drill the holes here in the center section chunk. And we're going to try and rotate this whole thing around. And the reason for that is if you look this short axle here, or the short side of the axle, you can see that the output or the input on the center chunk is offset to the one side. This is the long tube, and what we want to do is get this center chunk here flipped around so that this part, this input on the center chunk is more centered. It would be more over here. We're going to give this a shot. We got to pull some axle shafts. We got to try and pull that center chunk out. You can see I've been kind of cleaning up the axle tube, trying to get the brackets and tabs and stuff like that a place to go. I've been trying to get that cleaned up, but today's goal, we want to get that center chunk flipped around 180 degrees. So stand by, folks, and let's get with it. Okay, folks, so these spindle bolts here is what I just removed on this long side of the axle here. Then you pull the whole hub and everything, the whole hub assembly and everything off. Now we're down to the axle shaft. The axle shaft is, they're large, it's a 16 spline, so all we have to do is we just have to grab this and we just have to pull it out so that it's no longer in the center chunk. We'll have to repeat the same process on the other side, but for right now, this axle shaft is now out of the center chunk, and we're free to pull this right after we get this one here removed. So stand by, folks. We're going to get this done. All right, folks, here's our second hub assembly and everything off. I called it a spindle. The spindle is in here. This is the spindle portion here. But I kind of pulled the whole hub, spindle, everything comes out. Here's the second axle shaft. It is now pulled out, hopefully far enough out of the center section. So the next step is to get that engine hoist over there. We're going to strap this up. We're going to strap up this center section and see if we can pull it. You probably can pull it by hand. But make no mistake, it is heavy. It's awkward. The weight is kind of offset to one side over here. They're just a bear. So if you've got like an engine hoist or a couple of buddies, whatever you got, make good use of them. These things, everything on these axles is big, they're heavy, they're awkward. They perform well under the rigs, but to get them rebuilt and in the kind of condition that you need them in to run in your truck is no easy feat. All right, y'all, here it is. We got that center section pulled out of our housing. We did get those axle shafts pulled out just far enough. Everything is ready to go. Now, this one is kind of precarious. The sling for my straps is just underneath that piece there. This is the best way to do it, I think. It's the way that I found that works. But it's out now. Now all we have to do is somehow get this thing on some sort of a platform so that we can bolt the flip jig to it and start re-drilling some holes. So stand by. We'll get back with y'all. All right, y'all. What I did was I grabbed a couple of my sawhorses. This is some 1x2 American red oak. It's what I had laying around. We stuck it underneath the lip of that center section. We're going to try and bolt that flip jig now onto this, and we're going to try and transfer some center marks into this center section so that we can drill these new holes. Stand by, folks. Okay, I've put the flip jig on here. It's just sitting on the center section. If you look, you can see that the holes are lining up right now, all the way around this center chunk. Now, what we want to do is we want to rotate this 180 degrees. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just rotate this ring, if it'll go, 180 degrees. Now the 4 bolts on the end still need to line up. And it looks like we can get them to line up here pretty well. Actually, it looks like it's off somehow. I wonder what's going on here. Stand by, folks. All right, guys. This has been a very slow process. This is the centering, or the flip jig that I got. I got it from same company I got all my other brackets from. And I'm noticing that these parts are just tight. They all came off of a plasma cutter, but there was no machining done to them at all. So they're just plasma cut. And this ring would go on this center section. Like this, okay? Now the problem is it doesn't fit tight, or it's too tight. So if I push this down, and these are offset, these are the holes I would have to drill. So these are the 4 holes that have to line up here, are these ones, and then the other ones on the other side here. Well, this ring doesn't go flat here. You can see here on the side, there's a gap because it isn't going down flush. Well, because it's not going down flush, I can't really transfer my holes very well. So I am having to take a milling bit, which I have chucked up in a hand drill here. This is what I'm working with. It's just covered in grease because of that center section. And I'm going around the edges of this thing. I'm going to have it clamped down to this sawhorse. But I'm taking out such minor little pieces. I mean, you can see this glitter. That's all that it's removing. And it's a very slow process. It doesn't necessarily mean these parts are bad. They're still good parts. You just have to make them fit. And the struggle that I'm having right now is, like, I don't have a drill press, I don't have a milling machine or anything like that, so I can't very well mic this center section here and then make the ring fit. So it's all having to be done by hand, you know, whether you have hand files or whatever it is you have. But this is what's taking so long. I am now a couple of hours into making this fit, and I really do wish that these fab shops would do more than just, you know, burn these out on a plasma table. I wish they would go ahead and finish machining these the right way. But that's part of fabrication here. It's long, slow work. So hang in there, folks. We're still getting some work done.